Governor Gavin Newsom threatens and cuts off funding for a Southern California city that refuses to put one of his homeless hotels in their neighborhood. Coming up, we'll tell you about the controversy, why the city is actually right in this case, and what we're doing to fight back to prevent a slum being located in your neighborhood by the liberal politicians of this state. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and there's no doubt that California has a homelessness crisis and that California liberal politicians created that crisis through bad policies. Here are the facts, and I'll get to this controversy between a Southern California city and Governor Gavin Newsom. And by the way, this city is not the only city in this boat where there's this big dispute. And Newsom is bullying and threatening a bunch of cities. More on that in just a minute. But why do we have so much homelessness in California? We've covered this topic in depth on this show. And in a nutshell, the brief story is that California is doing homelessness differently than any other state. Our politicians have decided, instead of getting to the root cause of homelessness, which is mental health and substance abuse, those are the two drivers of homelessness. People who are crazy or on drugs or a combination thereof. 80% of chronic homeless people have those as their diagnosis. California, instead of getting to the root cause of those problems and treating those problems and using law enforcement to compel treatment, has decided, nope, we're not going to get treatment mandates. Let's just give them the keys to a motel room, or better yet, let's get all of our rich developers who give us campaign contributions and let's give them government subsidies to build drug dens. Well, they call them permanent supportive housing projects. These government subsidized welfare towers are costing taxpayers about $1 million per unit for affordable housing. And they give the keys to homeless people and expect nothing in return. Basically, you're going to shelve a problem rather than fix a problem. And there's not enough money for $1 million per pop drug den government subsidized projects. Even worse, where are they putting these projects? Well, remember in the 1930s, politicians said, a chicken in every pot. How about a homeless hovel in every neighborhood? That's what they are proposing. Newsom has told every city that they are to accept the welfare housing projects on demand. Whenever someone says, I think we should put a homeless shelter here or a welfare project over there, the city is compelled to just simply rubber stamp it and approve it. The citizens be damned. And of course, these projects don't come with oversight, accountability, enforcement of the laws. They bring all sorts of crime and grime into the neighborhood. That's proven. Okay, that's a documented fact. Why? Because we're not getting to the root problem, the root cause of people's crazy behavior. Instead, you're putting that crazy behavior into a neighborhood with no accountability and at a cost to taxpayers that is shockingly high. It's completely wasteful. Who benefits? Those rich developers who cut the campaign checks to the politicians. That's right. Follow the money. So this is why we have a problem. And if you're wondering, homelessness is actually down nationwide. Oh, did you not know that? I know the liberal media out here loves to keep everyone in the dark because they're trying to protect people like Gavin Newsom and their rich developer friends making a buck off of you. Nationwide, homelessness is down 22% since 2010. Even though housing prices have gone up nationwide dramatically since 2010. Because remember, the media says it's all about the price of housing. It's not. It's not. You could give someone $500 and a $500 apartment, and they wouldn't use that to pay rent. They'd use it to inject or snort or drink. And so 22% reduction nationwide in homelessness since 2010. In California, it's up by 38%. And of course, in the urban areas, up by triple digits. California has 12% of the nation's population, but 56% of the nation's unsheltered homeless population. Yeah, the problem here is California and our broken policies. So there are a number of cities who've said, we're not going to go along with this crap. We're not going to put a homeless hotel in every neighborhood, or we're not going to convert hotels into homeless shelters. And we're not going to put a homeless project, government subsidized Section 8 welfare unit in every neighborhood. That's not the solution. The solution is to force treatment in a discrete number of well-regulated, well-managed facilities. That's how other states do it. That's how we should do it in California. It's a proven model. But no, Gavin Newsom and his rich developers say, no, then we won't be able to build these homeless hovels in every neighborhood and then make a buck off of it and give campaign contributions. That's what this is all about. It's not about fixing the problem. It's about forcing projects into communities and then getting the cash. And by the way, the hotels are also in on the racket because you have a bunch of these hotel owners that cut campaign contribution checks to Newsom because with the crime and grime in California, if you haven't noticed, tourism is a little dampened. And so a lot of these hotels are saying, well, nobody wants to come here anymore and book rooms. So maybe I can go to the politician, cut him a check and say, can you give me some free housing vouchers for homeless people? And I'll put them up in my motel because we've got empty rooms. That's what this scam has always been about. It's been about a group of politically connected businesses that are profiting off of this human misery. So here's the specific city that I wanted to reference today. Cal Matters, the liberal blog, says, beyond cruel, Newsom retaliates against this LA suburb for its ban on homeless shelters. By the way, the city of Norwalk is at the center of this, but not only Norwalk, a variety of cities up and down the state of California also are pushing back. This is just the latest city to take a hard-nosed approach to pushing back on Newsom and the homeless lobby. Anyway, they put a moratorium on not only homeless shelters, but these welfare projects. And that's the bigger issue. It's the welfare projects that Newsom is really pissed about. Norwalk has 100,000 people. It already has homeless shelter beds that it accesses. And there is actually a specific facility that Norwalk would like to see expanded. It is a mental health hospital. And they have said, look, we would like to see this facility expanded with additional services. And the state says, no dice. City officials said, we hope that that the controversy garners enough attention that state and county leaders would sit down and discuss the best solutions for homelessness in Norwalk. In particular, she hoped the state would consider adding housing at Metropolitan State Hospital, a state mental hospital in Norwalk that already has security and wraparound services to make transitional housing a success. So Norwalk isn't saying that they're not going to do their part. What they're saying is we're not just going to blindly let you issue housing vouchers to motels and convert motels into homeless shelters, because that's not what they were approved for. They were approved as tourism facilities, not homeless shelters. And so Norwalk said no to the homeless shelters and no to these homelessness projects in neighborhoods, the quote supportive housing. I love how liberals call bad things good names, like, oh, the homeless drug den is actually not a drug den or a welfare hovel. It is supportive housing. It's not supporting anything but someone's addiction, and it's doing it with your taxpayer money. We can save those lives of those people if we actually had better policies. So we know that the city was upset about the motel voucher program and said no more using the vouchers in our city. And they also denied a housing project in a neighborhood. And now Newsom is threatening them with withholding state money on varieties of programs, as well as suing them to force them to approve projects. He also wants to use something called the builder's remedy, which is an awful anti-local control law that basically says that if a city council denies a rich developer their project, the developer can basically say, I'm going to cite this provision in state law and just start building. Oh, I know, this is insane, absolutely insane. It means that you locally have no voice in the process. So Expect more of these controversies and disputes because the liberals are looking to, line the pockets of their rich developer friends and motel owners with a bunch of taxpayer funds, and they're not solving the problem of homelessness. We have a better plan at Reform California. If you go to our website, reformcalifornia.org, and click under our campaigns, you'll find we have a homelessness campaign underway. We reject the liberal approach that I just described. They call their approach housing first, build housing, give motel rooms. It's not the house that's the issue. It's the person who's broken. And so instead of housing first, which is their policy, we have a policy at Reform California. Our plan is people first. And it does the following. First, it fully enforces all laws relating to loitering, panhandling, indecency, violence, theft, vagrancy, and trespassing in public right-of-ways. We're doing this so that we can use the stick of law enforcement to compel people into treatment programs, which is what the 49 other states are doing successfully. Where love fails to get someone off their drugs or into mental health therapy, law must take up the slack. So law enforcement is number one. Number two, prioritize transitional housing units for those that are economically displaced, particularly families. So those units that we do have should not be permanent supportive housing. They should be transitory housing for these people who don't have the mental health problem or dependency on drugs, but are down on their luck and they just need a place for the first few months. Then they can transition to their own place. We don't have enough of those units because we've handed them over to drug addicts and crazy people with no hope that those units are going to be freed up. That's why our People First plan would reprioritize the permanent supportive housing units back to transitory housing. Third, we would basically guarantee mental health and substance abuse services for anyone diagnosed with the problem. So we can't turn anyone away. I want everyone to know that we will help break that cycle. And this is going to save money. I know a lot of people say, well, if we expand mental health and substance abuse treatment, will that cost more money? We're spending $1 million per unit for these permanent supportive housing projects. We are going to be able to save a bunch of money by getting to the root cause, which is treatment. And then, of course, we would like to require a welfare to work program. Anyone receiving assistance should be required to do some sort of public work every day. Clean up trash, tend to parks and recreational facilities, whatever it is. But we find something for them to do, community service. We're going to have the cleanest neighborhoods on the planet with all these homeless people. And if they don't want to play ball by these rules, well, they can go to San Francisco. Apparently, they like to coddle people up there. Anyway, that's our plan. We want to get the word out on this and help implement this plan. We actually are considering putting it on the ballot in 2026 through a citizens initiative. We also are making this an issue in this November election. Local offices, state offices, homelessness is a key issue. So check out our voter guide online at reformcalifornia.org. That's reformcalifornia.org. We cover all of the races on your ballot, including giving you a plain English description of all of the statewide initiatives. Plus, we found 470 tax hikes hidden on your ballot from the local areas of the state. Chances are about 2 or 3 of those tax hikes are hidden on your ballot. So get these plain English voter guides that we offer at reformcalifornia.org. Click under voter help and then voter guides. Finally, chip in a contribution to help power our campaigns in this election to make sure we can elect good people and to distribute our voter guide. We need your help. Average contribution is $67 a year, which means it's about $5 a month. Chip in $5 right now, start the program. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.